Amy Schumer gets an absurd amount of hate on the internet, and here are 5 reasons why everyone hates Amy Schumer. First, a lot of people call her comedy racist. She's said jokes in the past like, quote, "Nothing works 100% of the time except Mexicans, and I used to prefer Hispanic guys, but now I prefer consensual." Number 2 is that she's infamously known for and has been caught stealing more jokes than any other comedian. 3 is her unfunny and disrespectful jokes. People think her comedy is unevolved and focuses on being crude, making too many jokes about her lady parts or bodily functions, or relies on shock factor.
Amy Schumer went from selling out huge arenas and starring in hit movies to becoming one of the most criticized comedians in Hollywood. And the craziest part is it all seemed to happen because of her own choices. Back in 2015, Amy was unstoppable. She had her own hit show on Comedy Central, starred in a blockbuster that made over $140 million, and was even named one of Time magazine's most influential people of the year. Her face was everywhere, on magazine covers, red carpets, award shows, and even Netflix specials.
4th is that she literally admitted to SAing 2 different guys. First is a guy that she described as so drunk that he was barely conscious enough to function his body to do the deed, but they did anyway. Second is a cab driver where she literally admitted to SAing him, and she took his hand and put it where he didn't want it. I'm about to say the last one, but before I do, make sure you follow so you finally know why all these hated celebrities are so hated, and request any celebrity who you would like to see next. 5th is her arrogance and ungratefulness. People don't like how she thinks she's more established than she is because she compares herself to Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, and she turned down an $11 million Netflix deal because they weren't paying her enough.
But just 2 years later, everything flipped upside down. Her Netflix comedy special got slammed with harsh 1-star reviews, so intense that people online alleged Netflix even changed their rating system afterward. Her movies started to flop, and the audience who once adored her suddenly turned on her. It was like overnight, Amy went from being Hollywood's golden comedian to one of the most divisive names in comedy. So how did this all happen? How did someone rise so high, only to see it all fade away so fast? Amy's story begins in 1981 on New York's Upper East Side. She grew up in a well-off family. Her dad ran a successful furniture business, but when she was 9, the company went bankrupt, and her parents later divorced. It was a big shift that changed her life early on. Despite that, Amy found her passion in performing arts. She studied theater in college and eventually discovered stand-up comedy, where she started making waves across New York's comedy scene in the mid-2000s. By 2007, she landed a spot on Last Comic Standing and finished 4th, giving her that major breakthrough that set everything in motion. And if you're ready for the full story behind Amy Schumer's wild rise and fall, make sure you hit subscribe to Cluedish so you don't miss what comes next. Amy Schumer built her name with bold, raunchy humor and a self-deprecating style that instantly stood out. Soon, she was landing guest spots on hit shows like 30 Rockin' Girls. But it was her 2012 comedy special, Mostly Sex Stuff, that really launched her into the spotlight. It became the blueprint for her entire comedic brand. The show featured her signature mix of wild personal stories, jokes about relationships, awkward dating moments, and unapologetic self-humor. That kind of raw honesty made her feel real to many fans, but even early on, some critics claimed her material was too repetitive. They said she leaned too heavily on a couple of topics. One about her personal life, and another poking fun at men. That approach drew a split reaction. Some people thought it was hilarious, while others felt like the jokes were too one-sided.
That's not exactly how it went according to him.
I see her face and I'm like, all right, cool. So I hurry up and get on my Instagram and I'm like, there goes Amy. And then she just loses it and she just gets mad. And that is totally false, what she wrote about.
Still, Amy didn't slow down. In 2013, she premiered her Comedy Central show Inside Amy Schumer, and it exploded in popularity. It won major awards, earned strong reviews, and turned her into what many described as a new voice for women in comedy. Then, in 2015, she wrote and starred in Trainwreck, a massive box office success that made over $140 million and officially crowned her a movie star. Everything seemed picture-perfect from the outside, but behind the fame, subtle warning signs were starting to appear. Some fans point back to an early moment in 2011 at the Charlie Sheen roast, when Amy made a controversial joke about the late Ryan Dunn, right in front of his close friend Steve-O. The crowd reaction was icy, and even Steve-O stayed completely silent. That awkward exchange became one of the first times audiences started to question whether Amy's shock humor had gone too far. Her rise was still unstoppable at that point, but that moment hinted at how unpredictable her comedy career would become. Every comedian has an off night, no doubt about that. But for Amy Schumer, one particular moment seemed to show a pattern in her judgment that would come back to challenge her career again and again. By 2016, Amy's fame was massive, but her relationship with audiences started to shift. During one of her live shows in Tampa, Florida, she paused her act and began discussing real-world issues and personal opinions. According to reports at the time, the crowd reaction turned tense, and several people ended up walking out of the venue. Outlets like CBS News later reported that around 200 audience members left that show early, describing the moment as uncomfortable and unexpected. Fans had always known Amy for her outspoken personality, but this time, the response was different. Some attendees said they came expecting her trademark humor and felt caught off guard when the set turned serious. One fan even told reporters he had paid hundreds for a night of laughs, not heavy talk. Whether people agreed or disagreed, the incident marked a turning point. It showed how her comedy, once universally adored, was now dividing her audience in real time. Then, in March 2017, Amy released The Leather Special on Netflix, a project that reportedly came with a huge $13 million deal and sky-high expectations. This was supposed to be her big comeback, her chance to remind everyone why she was one of the biggest comedians in the world. But things didn't go as planned. The special faced a wave of harsh online reviews, with many users giving it low ratings and calling it disappointing. Critics pointed out that the jokes felt repetitive, while longtime fans defended her, saying people were being unfairly harsh. Either way, it became one of the most talked about comedy releases of that year, for all the wrong reasons.
And the bads of this comedy special. We'll go ahead and start about what's good with it. That ends that segment. That about covers that.
Amy's career was still moving forward, but this moment showed how quickly public opinion could shift when a comedian was at the top. Just 1 week after Amy Schumer's Leather Special premiered on Netflix, the online reaction was brutal. Viewers flooded the review section, calling it uncomfortable, forced, boring, and just not funny. The special ended up with over 2,000 audience reviews, more than double what most comedy specials ever get, and the majority of them gave it a 1-star rating. According to many viewers, the problem wasn't just the reaction, it was the material itself. Critics and fans alike said it felt like the same jokes Amy had been using for years. More of the same personal humor, dating stories, and awkward moments, but this time without the spark that once made her stand out. People said it lacked originality, creativity, and that raw edge that once made her a household name. Even longtime fans, who had supported her through everything, admitted they couldn't finish watching it. One person reportedly wrote that they had to turn it off just 10 minutes in, while another said it didn't make them laugh once. That's harsh. The professional critics were split. Some defended Amy's confidence and delivery, while others agreed that the special missed the mark. But the audience response was overwhelmingly negative. On IMDb, the special still sits with a reported 3.2 out of 10 rating, backed by thousands of frustrated user reviews. And this is where Amy made what many saw as a major misstep.
Steve-O, great try. Steve-O! But I truly am, no joke, sorry for the loss of your friend Ryan Dunn. I know you must have been thinking it could have been me, and I know we were all thinking, why wasn't it?
Instead of accepting the criticism and possibly reflecting on her creative direction, she took to social media to explain what she believed had happened. Amy alleged that coordinated online groups were unfairly targeting her work, trying to drag down her ratings on purpose. While some online negativity may have played a part, others pointed out that the backlash seemed to go far beyond that. Many of the negative comments came from her own fans who had enjoyed her earlier projects. Critics suggested that the issue wasn't a conspiracy, it was the content itself. Still, Amy stood her ground, saying the experience made her feel powerful, brave, and unshaken by the criticism. It was a bold response, but one that only fueled the public debate about whether Amy Schumer could bounce back from such a massive backlash. After the backlash from her Netflix special, Amy Schumer responded online, thanking her critics and saying that the negative attention actually motivated her to keep going. But many observers noticed what seemed to be a lack of self-reflection or accountability for how things had played out. And just when people thought the controversy might cool off, a new wave of allegations hit her career even harder. Online discussions began resurfacing old clips from other comedians, claiming that Amy had borrowed or allegedly copied material from their acts. Several stand-up performers, including Wendy Liebman, Kathleen Madigan, and Tammy Pescatelli, publicly suggested that Amy's jokes in her 2015 HBO special Amy Schumer, Live at the Apollo, were too similar to jokes they had performed years earlier. One viral video even placed Amy's jokes side by side with the original routines, making the comparisons impossible for fans to ignore. In the comedy world, originality is sacred. It's considered one of the biggest unspoken rules. If a comedian's material resembles another's, even by accident, they're expected to acknowledge it and clear the air. But Amy handled the situation differently. She went on the Jim Norton show and strongly denied all the accusations, saying she had never taken anyone's jokes and had never even seen the other comedians' sets. Still, not everyone believed her. Tammy Pescatelli later posted that it felt unfair for someone who claimed to support women in comedy to allegedly take material from other female comedians. That statement hit hard, sparking even more debate among fans and other performers about whether Amy had crossed a line or just fallen victim to coincidence. Amy maintained that jealousy was the real reason behind the accusations, insisting she had worked hard for her success and would never intentionally copy anyone. But by that point, the situation had already taken a serious toll on her reputation. The internet was buzzing, and her image as one of comedy's leading voices was suddenly under intense scrutiny. It was a messy chapter in Amy's career, one that would follow her for years and make every new joke she told feel like it came with extra baggage. After Amy Schumer faced accusations of copying other comedians, she pushed back hard, saying that some critics were simply jealous and couldn't handle seeing her succeed. That confidence struck some as bold, but others saw it as surprising, even egotistical. And just when the drama seemed to reach its peak, another controversy from Amy's past started gaining attention, one that left fans seriously divided. Back in 2014, at the Gloria Awards, Amy shared a personal story on stage about an encounter she had years earlier with a man she called Matt. In her retelling, she described him as being very intoxicated and unfocused at the time. She said the experience made her reflect on confidence and self-worth, framing it as a story about learning to value herself. However, years later, as audiences revisited the story, some listeners interpreted it differently. They pointed out that, based on Amy's own description, the man she mentioned might have been too impaired to give proper consent. Online discussions quickly erupted, with people questioning the tone of the story and saying it didn't align with Amy's outspoken advocacy for accountability in the entertainment industry. Amy had publicly positioned herself as a strong supporter of movements calling for respect and fairness. So this old story stirred major backlash online. Critics said it seemed hypocritical for her to speak against inappropriate behavior while joking about an experience that some perceived as crossing a line. Supporters, on the other hand, argued that her story had been misunderstood and taken out of context. Either way, the clip became another lightning rod moment in her career, reigniting debates about her public image. Then came the body image controversy. Amy had long made her body a central part of her comedy, celebrating confidence, self-acceptance, and speaking up for women who don't fit Hollywood's narrow beauty standards. But when Glamour magazine included her in a special issue highlighting plus-size women, Amy wasn't happy about it. She posted online that she didn't consider herself plus-size and felt that labeling her that way could send the wrong message to young girls. Many people were confused by her reaction. If Amy had spent years joking about being a big girl and celebrating body positivity, why reject being grouped with plus-size women? Even model Ashley Graham reportedly commented on the contradiction, saying Amy seemed to embrace the big girl identity when it suited her comedy, but distanced herself from it when it came to public labels. These back-to-back controversies started to reshape how people viewed Amy, not just as a comedian, but as a public figure who constantly found herself at the center of her own storms. Amy Schumer's reputation started taking more hits as people accused her of acting entitled. Reports claimed she once refused to show her gym membership card, allegedly saying she was too famous to need to check in. Others said she called fans asking for photos harassers. But one fan later told reporters that Amy's version of their encounter wasn't accurate, saying she made herself out to be the victim when she wasn't. Her movie career also started slipping. In 2017, Snatched with Goldie Hawn underperformed at the box office. The next year, I Feel Pretty was meant to be a feel-good story about confidence and self-acceptance. But critics said it sent the wrong message. The film's plot, about a woman who hits her head and suddenly believes she's beautiful, was slammed for suggesting confidence comes only from delusion. Viewers said it contradicted the very idea of body positivity it claimed to promote. Instead of reflecting on the backlash, Amy reportedly brushed off the criticism and said people were reading too much into it. Her habit of dismissing feedback only made things worse. By this point, her audience had started to lose patience, seeing a pattern of arrogance and denial that kept following her from one project to the next. In late 2023, Amy Schumer faced another wave of backlash, this time for her social media posts. She shared a cartoon that many viewers said was offensive and misrepresented a sensitive issue. The post quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons, with fans and fellow celebrities calling it inappropriate and misleading. When actress Asia Jackson criticized her post, Amy reportedly responded privately, and the exchange only made things worse. Online audiences accused Amy of being defensive instead of acknowledging the criticism. The situation escalated further when she tried to reference Martin Luther King Jr.'s message in a post that many felt was taken out of context. Even members of Martin Luther King's family publicly clarified what his real message had been, sparking more online debate. By this point, Amy's public image had taken serious damage. Her latest movie underperformed, and audiences seemed to lose interest in her work altogether. Many fans said it wasn't just one mistake. It was years of refusing to take accountability that caused the downfall. What could have been a comeback turned into another controversy, leaving people wondering if Amy could ever regain the connection she once had with her audience. Amy Schumer's downfall didn't happen overnight. It was built on years of denial and deflection. Every time people criticized her, she reportedly blamed others, trolls, jealousy, or misunderstandings, but rarely took responsibility herself. What started as a career built on bold humor and boundary pushing turned into a story about someone who couldn't handle pushback when the spotlight turned critical. She had everything: fame, money, and major influence. But according to many fans, her biggest mistake was refusing to reflect or grow from her controversies. Instead of learning from criticism, she often doubled down, which only pushed audiences further away. In the end, it wasn't cancel culture or online hate that brought her down. It was her inability to evolve. The real loss wasn't her fame. It was the connection she once had with the people who supported her from the start. If you want more deep dives into celebrity rises and downfalls like this, make sure to subscribe to Cluedish and turn on notifications. There's plenty more truth to uncover.